All right. That was the intro. What's going on, everybody? Gabriel Bello here with my brother Rod Saunders from Jew and Greek, and we're going to do something a little different this evening. We're going to talk about music with We Are the World, We Is the Children. Um, this song has been kind of a lifelong inspiration for me. There really hadn't been a time, even though I was born before it came out. Sup, Dwayne Green. Um, there really hadn't been a time where I hadn't been aware of it because it came out when I was 5 years old and it was a worldwide phenomenon. I guess we can kind of start there, Rod. Like, where do you remember the first time you heard it? How old were you when this came out?
I would have been
in
28.
your teens or
Yes, I was still living in Tulsa,
28?
but I had graduated from Bible school, and actually, I moved to Nashville later that year to get into the Christian music business. So music was on my mind at the time, and I remember all of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. First, there was "Feed the World" from Band Aid in the UK. And then there was We Are the World. And then there was the contemporary Christian group, The Cause, that did Do Something Now, that a lot of Christian people don't even know about. And then there was Farm Aid and Live Aid, the concerts that were spawned from this. And for about a year there, everybody was talking about charity and famine relief. And it was just a fascinating time to see all these uber wealthy artists do something for free for a good cause.
Yeah.
Not that the Christian artists were uber wealthy.
They were Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie,
Amy
Billy
Grant
Joel wealthy,
was
that's for
loaded,
sure.
but the rest of them they had to work for a living.
He sure did, Keith. He walked out when they started to try to sing in Swahili, and he said, "Well, this old country boy know nothing about singing in Swahili."
Yeah, that was an interesting point in the whole recording thing, because at first they just dismissed Waylon Jennings as a redneck racist. But then somebody else there said, "Oh, wait a minute, he's got a point." uh, this famine is taking place in Ethiopia, and they don't speak Swahili in Ethiopia. So why are we singing in Swahili? And then a debate ensued, and they finally decided to 86 the Swahili. But by that time, Waylon was on the road again. That was Willie's song, actually.
Yeah, about to say he was a good old boy. He was never meaning no harm.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes. I'm hoping what I just did help my delay situation. I'm having to watch it back like in post to see if it's fixed.
Always with the technical issues.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's just restream. It's just restream. I'm gonna abandon this whole setup. I'm literally in the middle of setting up the new video setup for the studio. So, but we'll get into that later. So sorry, y'all. I'm just gonna be delayed. Just it is what it is. So I finally actually went. I know it came out. What was it, last year or year before? The Greatest Night in Pop on Netflix.
I don't
when
have
did that come
Netflix.
out?
I'm sorry. Everything I've researched is on YouTube, so there may be snippets. Okay.
Oh yeah, it was last year. Yeah. And I have the DVD. So I bought the DVD, little mini documentary of We Are the World, the making of, in 2003, 2004, when I was living in Nashville, and had some cool little stories in there, a whole different set of interviews than the Greatest Night in Pop. But I have to say, now that the song turned 40, I think I'm starting to realize real nostalgia. Though I'm not old yet, the world has changed so much so fast, and art has gone popular art action nosedive in the last 15 years. Um, yeah, it really made me smile and sad at the same time because of I'm looking at half of these famous artists are now gone. I mean, Quincy Jones is gone, Michael Jackson's gone, Ray Charles is gone. Who else was in there?
Tina Turner,
Tina Turner's gone, Dionne Warwick's gone,
James Ingram.
Willie's still here, Kenny Rogers is gone, Billy Joel's super duper sick, Huey Lewis he can't perform anymore.
James Ingram passed.
Yep, James Ingram passed. Gosh,
Harry Belafonte.
Harry Belafonte, Al Jarreau. Yep. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, there's just a handful of these people. Actually, I was a little disappointed. You see in one of the when they're cutting the rehearsal track for all the artists, and you see the band. It was I think it was Larry Johnson on the bass, but it looked like Randy Jackson. Not Randy Jackson. There's another guy. His last name is Jackson, and he's a famous bass player. And he maybe it was Larry, but maybe who they got to play on the actual. My brother would know, being the bass player. But you saw Greg Fillinganes playing piano, and he is credited as playing piano on the song. And they didn't interview him. He was in Michael Jackson's band. He was in Stevie Wonder's band. He played on Songs in the Key of Life. He played on Thriller. And they didn't interview him. I mean, he must have been on the road or something, or unavailable when they called for that interview, because that made no sense to me. That made absolutely no sense to me. That Dionne Warwick is not still alive. I'm 90% sure she died.
I think she's still alive. I would double check that.
Let's find out. She was alive at the time of that thing, but oh no, I stand corrected. She's still here. I thought, you know what it is? I think I got internet duped. I think somebody said that she died on the internet.
Oh, you gotta watch that stuff.
Well, she's 84, so I was like, oh man. No, it was Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson passed away.
Oh, okay.
And they look like sisters.
That thing about rest in peace, Joe Rogan, for like a year, you would see that every week on Facebook. Rest in peace, Joe Rogan. And your initial reaction is, what? Joe Rogan died? No, he didn't die.
Well, that's what started the whole Mandela effect, was people thinking like, it was like he was announced, like there's this whole thing of, he died at some point, but he didn't die for another 15 years. So, and everybody remembers.
Generalissimo Francisco Franco is still dead.
Yes. Yeah. But it was cool hearing from, was it Gattaca? Humberto was the engineer. That was really cool, because that was actually, and it's funny, being a music production professional, I had never actually contemplated the logistics of putting all of that together. And that was really unheard of. I'm sitting there thinking like, surely, and I think that's why some of the artists were not as stressed out by doing the whole process of everything together, which was like basically the Motown guys. I know Quincy was under the gun because I got to get all this done in one night.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
all those people were in LA for the music award.
For the AMA. Well, not all of them. I mean, the fact that Paul Simon, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, and there was a handful of others that were not performing and not attending that literally just came in town. I think Dylan was another one.
Okay.
That they just came in town just for that recording. And it's one of the things that it made me think of, I know I'm kind of scatterbrained. It made me think of in the Christian world, we want to attain clout so that people will listen to us, right? And it kind of, and people say, well, you don't have to have a name in order for the Lord to use you. And I'm like, well, that's true, but it does help to have a name to do certain things. They couldn't have done that without having Quincy, Michael, and Lionel. And who was the next one? I think Bruce was the next one that they got on board.
He was the first white guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they said, we need to get some white folk in here, not just be black folk, and that was what kind of helped leverage. And when people saw that was
Springsteen, he was the boss. He was the hottest thing going next to Michael Jackson at that time.
He was on the Born USA. I mean, he literally came off the next day after the Born in the USA tour. I mean, and that was a huge Born in the USA. I was. Yeah. That was huge.
Yeah. Interestingly, a lot of people think that song was about being patriotic and everything. And Reagan was president, and a lot of people were singing Born in the USA and waving the American flag at Reagan events. And Springsteen's a lefty. He was
super Democrat.
The song was kind of being facetious about because there's a line in the song about his brother dying, went off to fight the Viet Cong. They're still there. He's all gone. It was a very cynical view of patriotism, but people
kind of like Born on the 4th of July, the movie that
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, I was going to say it had a very Oliver Stone look at it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was actually cool. So, Brother Maynard, says Stevie Wonder. I didn't know. So in the documentary that I had, and I think they gave kind of a faster version of the telling of writing the song, and obviously that yes, they did want Prince to perform very much, but he doesn't play. He didn't want to. I don't want to disparage him, but he was too cool for school. And it's really a crying shame that he and Michael Jackson never had any kind of a performance together, because that would have been the one. I mean, because it was supposed to be Michael and then Prince, but if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. That was supposed to be Prince's line, and since he didn't come, which I felt bad for Sheila E., that they basically tried to leverage her to get him to come, or at least that's how she felt. She made it sound like that way, and I'm like, well, it kind of looks like they did. Even though she was a big star, she is a star, and she actually played percussion on You Got Me Working Day and Night and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough on Michael. So on Michael's first two records. So she's she's been around the block. But yeah, that was kind of bad of Lionel saying, we want you to sing on one of the verses. If he really said that and trying to get her to get Prince, that's kind of dirty. But he does have a reputation for being aloof and elusive. So, but yeah, to the Stevie Wonder thing, the way Lionel tells it in the documentary was similar to the, how they do on the, Greatest Night in Pop, where, they're getting together, they're kind of not getting anywhere. They get to the opening line. Lionel said in the documentary, if memory serves me right, somebody can correct me in the comments, years later, but I'll find the DVD. And this is what I remember anyway, was he said he wrote the first line or two, and then they were like, well, we're going to come back and write it. And then Michael came day and the next, and it was done. So he tells a longer story in this, in this doc, where they kind of, piddled around, felt like they were going to have some time. And then, oh yeah, we're doing this in 3 weeks. But the fact that they wanted Stevie to write it with them, which it was supposed to be Lionel and Stevie writing, because Stevie at that point was super huge, super mega genius, and known for writing very consciously humanitarian, Michael wasn't known for those songs yet. Stevie was he's got Pastime Paradise. He had, Higher Ground, Living for the City. He wrote that type of stuff, but he don't answer the phone either. So by the time he returns their phone call, they're cutting the demo, and it's like, and that was beautiful. Where he just walks in the studio, and it's like, hey, he's like, I'm ready to write the song. It's like, brother, we're cutting the demo. Like, sorry. No.
Something a lot of people don't know. I'll just interrupt you here for a second, Gabriel. A lot of people don't know that you have an act where you imitate Stevie Wonder. Do you have any images of that?
I'm sure I can find something. 1 second. And that was that's cool that Sheila E. Played with Santana. Also, yeah, man, she's the stuff. Let's see. Yeah, it's funny if I don't know which artist I like more. I think I know Michael's entire library more, but it's because he has less albums than Stevie. But yeah, I've been doing this Stevie Wonder tribute show I'm trying to find like the best picture. This might be one of the best pictures, even though it's not. So this was let's see, make sure. Oh shoot, it's not gonna hold up. I got to do a screen share thing. 1 second.
This is when he had his old look.
Yeah, this is when I was doing the doing the wig and stuff, like, dressing up like him. So there was a point where I was even doing makeup and the whole thing, and like that's me. Gotta zoom in. So, and yeah, when I stepped on stage and we did our show, you didn't know it wasn't Stevie, but that was the point. That's the point of a tribute show, was to and if you pull up some videos of me doing my Stevie show, there's
videos of it on YouTube. It's impressive, because obviously you're a keyboardist and you can imitate his voice, and with the makeup, you even look like it.
Yep, till I grew the beard out, till COVID stopped all my shows, and I was like, well, I'm growing the beard out, and I'm not cutting it off. So even though I did cut it off after Christmas, but that was out of annoyance, not out of any trying to look like somebody. But yeah, and he was, while he was some of the glue that really helped of course he helped Dylan big time. His ad libs are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. at the back half of it, but he also was the reason that Waylon Jennings left, because he was like, we should sing in African, so we should sing so that they know what we're saying, and he almost brought the whole thing to a halt. So
eat the hay and leave the sticks. He had good ideas and bad ideas, and they weeded out the Swahili.
Well, that'd be a great idea if he'd have been there when they were writing the song, but you can't do that in the night of the recording when you got 50 superstars.
Yeah.
And you got like 6 hours, So
in retrospect, I don't see how they could have done better than they did.
That's
pretty phenomenal.
That's the incredible thing, Rod. Music has not been created that way, and even in that time, music was not created that way. It's not made. That was how it was made maybe 30 years before that.
Mm.
When everybody's in the studio and we just, hey man, let's make something happen. You book a studio and you just make, let's play this and see what happens. And I know they, we'll talk about them trying to recreate that, but I'm watching every time I listen to the song, every time I watch the video, and then watching that documentary, I'm like, man, I will never see anything like, I don't think I'll ever see anything like that in my lifetime, because there's no identifiable music artists like that anymore. Yeah. There's talent like that. There's incredible talent. There's incredible singers, incredible songwriters, but nobody knows who they are, because the American music industry has all but destroyed itself. It's all but ate itself, between streaming, signing people based on, sex appeal and looks and not talent. Half of these people, they don't write their own songs. They don't produce their own songs. They don't even sing their own songs. We've been doing they started in the days, and it probably started before. I don't know if Keith Driver's still in here, but um, I know for a fact with Paula Abdul, they started with ghost vocals, where they would bring in a better vocalist and then put the star on top. There was a famous my wife would know who it is. I can't remember the artist name. She was in a movie, Get Shorty, or Get the sequel to Get Shorty with what's his face? What's his face from Get Carter?
I don't know these.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hold up. I can
Wasn't
see his
Travolta
stinking
in
face. And
Get Shorty?
that's it, John
Okay.
Travolta. So yeah, he was the star in the movie. So anyway, this girl, Christina Milian, she was the ghost vocalist for like most of J Lo's hits, Jennifer Lopez's hits. And it's funny. I went back and listened. I'm like, you can hear her. You can hear her clear as day. They did good job of putting J Lo on top. But if you're really listening, you know what Christina Milian sings like, and she does a good job of emulating Jennifer Lopez, but she couldn't hide her own voice in every lyric. And that's what we have in the music industry today. We don't have Tina Turners. We don't have Billy Joels. You know, and I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Dylan. I don't understand the allure. I don't get it. But I can appreciate him being different and there being space, especially watching that. And I've been in those rooms as a producer with people that they can't do it on the fly. They're not like the jazz musicians I work for, work with, or the gospel musicians. They can't do something just like that. So you have to walk them through. And having that element in there, I'm like, you know what, man? That's like when you go have fondue and you eat, you're eating it with the crackers and the pretzels. And you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense, salty. And then the first time you take a piece of apple and you dip it in the cheese, you're like, that doesn't make sense. And then you eat it and you're like, wow, that actually goes really well together. That to me is, he's like salted caramel. It's like, man, you put big pieces of salt in your chocolate. That's not going to taste good. And it's like, that actually tastes really good. That actually works. It doesn't make sense. Don't know how it works. And that was Dylan. That was Dylan in that song. Is it just making? We're saving our life. It's to make a better day. Just you and me.
Well, by that time, Dylan had been a legend in the folk music world for over 20 years. And, he would not have made it as a new artist in the 80s. But he came along at a time when folk music was all the rage and protest songs were, all
John Denver, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, and he did the song "The Times They Are A-Changing" and "All Along the Watchtower," and those songs were just
which Hendrix made that song
Jimi
more
Hendrix
famous
was
than
a big Bob Dylan fan. So that's what made him, was his songwriting, and people put up with his voice because his songs moved them. Kind of like Kurt Cobain, he wasn't a great singer. He was a terrible guitar player, but he created a certain vibe. He created a feeling that resonated with his generation, and that's what Dylan did. And he was still revered because of what he did back in the 60s. He didn't have that many hits after the 60s. Tangled Up in Blue and Lay Lady Lay, I think the only ones, other than the Christian stuff that he did, was "Gonna Serve Somebody," which the Christian community really didn't know what to make of Bob Dylan.
I don't even know what you just said. That just goes back to what Caps just wrote. He said, I don't understand half of Bob Dylan's lyrics. And you just said, I'm like, I don't even know idea what Rod just said.
Yeah. Well, he did a song, you might like to drink whiskey, might like to drink milk, might like to wear cotton, might like to wear silk. And doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have to serve somebody. It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. And, the Christian community, when they heard Bob Dylan got saved, they thought he was going to sound like Pat Boone, I guess. they thought he was going to sound Christian.
The Lord was going to give him a better
Right.
voice.
And he still sounded like Bob Dylan. And they were like, that doesn't sound like Christian music. But I thought it was a good song. Gotta serve somebody. And he had those backup singers, serve somebody. Anyway, he did that, but most of his hits were back in the 60s, and they were Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, It Ain't Me, Babe. Johnny Cash recorded some of Bob Dylan's stuff, and he was country. So anyway, he just kind of rode that 10-year period there, early 60s to early 70s. And he's admitted in recent years he doesn't have the songwriting magic that he used to have. So he just kind of hung it up. He doesn't want to write mediocre stuff, and he just doesn't have the inspiration.
Well, I think that kind of goes into that whole thing, where this, they sold their souls for rock and roll, where he talks about, he didn't say sell. Did he sell it? So he said something, it's like to the master of this world. He's very elusive, so like, well, when people ask him, it's a famous interview, and it's in all those, all, because he's kind of saying without saying, like, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil for this fame, and I'm really praying that God takes me back.
I remember reading something about that. It didn't stick with me. But anyway, they really wanted him for the We Are the World project because he had that history of advocacy.
And he was a legend in his genre,
Oh yeah,
an absolute legend in folk music. I mean, of course, It was funny when I think it was Lionel Richie he was quoting Paul Simon when Paul Simon walked in, and he's looking around. He's like, "Boy, if something happens in this building, John Denver's going to be back on top." And that's funny, Caps. I'm gonna have to go back and read Exodus now, and every time, hey Pharaoh, and my people go. And maybe that's why I wouldn't let him go. He couldn't understand what he was saying.
It's interesting that David Letterman.
Don't think twice. It's all right.
Yeah, David Letterman. In one of his podcasts, he was talking about Dylan. Dylan came on an anniversary show for the Letterman show, and Dylan wasn't used to doing shows like that. It was a big production. They had an orchestra behind him and everything, and they were telling him, "You stand here. You're going to use this mic," and he just wasn't used to people telling him what to do like that. And he agreed to do the show, but he was really kind of miffed at the way that they were treating him. And so he got up there to perform, and he said he was just mumbling a bunch of unintelligible. He says, now Dylan isn't the clearest singer in the world, but he said he was trolling us. I knew he was trolling us because he was so annoyed at rehearsal by them saying, do this, do that. Anyway, so I went back and I watched the full performance. He was talking about it on the podcast. I watched the whole performance. And you couldn't hardly understand anything that he said. And I think it was probably intentional, because when Dylan wanted to sing clearly, he could do it. When he did the song Lay Lady Lay, you could understand everything he said. He didn't sound like it, he didn't do the typical Dylan style.
Yeah.
And Tangled Up in Blue was a lot better singing than Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. But yeah, that was funny. Letterman's like, oh, come on. I know you can sing better than, I know you can speak clearer than that, Bob. But it was Bob Dylan. What was he going to do?
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. Yeah. That's, it's, the more, and this is, gosh, like I said, I've been listening to this song my whole life. So it's like, the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, it's growing on me. It's growing on me, but yeah, it's still having to grow on me, because, when you hear Ray Charles, and even, I'm not a big, Springsteen fan, but dude, he nailed it, man. I mean, he nailed it to the wall. And I'm sitting there
Mhm.
listening to this guy and hearing the story that he had already done his last night of his tour. So he's been on the road for months. He flies in and drives. That was the funny thing. I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the video guys, one of the camera guys. Sees him drive up in like just like some little beat up little like a hoopty rental car, you know, like I can't remember, it wasn't a Sirocco, but it was just something
Mhm.
unassuming. Wasn't a Ferrari or a Corvette or a Mercedes. It's like a little beat up car, and it's like, yeah, see this little beat up car parked across the street, and Bruce Springsteen starts walking over, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is Bruce Springsteen. And it's what, 4 something in the morning?
Hey, I
Is it
wasn't
choice making? We're saving our own life. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. I mean, just like every little inflection, he freaking nails it, man. I was like, holy cow. Okay, boss. I'll call you the boss after
yeah.
that. I never acknowledged the boss moniker, but any dude that's gonna get off a multi-state tour, fly overnight, get in a car, sing, do all that other stuff all day, hot leather jacket with the lights on, and nail it. Okay,
Yeah, I think
bro.
it was the last one to leave, wasn't it? Or last part that they recorded.
No, I think they did the ad libs with. He wasn't the last one. He was close to the last
Okay.
soloist. Because I know that I think they did the ad libs with James Ingram, and they didn't show those. They show that in the documentary thing that I have, the DVD that I have, the ad libs with James Ingram, Stevie Wonder, and of course Ray Charles. You know, come on, let me hear you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just, gosh, dude, that's my goodness, man. From Dale, and Bob Dylan. I mean, Ray. I mean, you're talking. Billy Joel says it, and my buddy, I'm gonna have to send this to my buddy Mike Santoro afterwards. Billy Joel straight up says it. I should have called him, man, because he's an encyclopedia of music. He's got the Billy Joel tribute that I've been traveling with. He's actually the reason why I started the Stevie Wonder tribute, was at his behest. He's like, dude, you need to do this. Billy Joel like just worships at the feet of Ray
Yeah,
Charles.
yeah.
That's one of his favorite music artists of all time. And you hear him says it. You hear him say it. He's like, the Statue of Liberty just walked in here. That's when Ray Charles walked in.
Mhm.
I got choked up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just imagine, like that was before that they did their. He did a duet with Ray in the
My
80s.
Baby Grand.
I think yeah, and it was on his next record because he was still with Christy Brinkley at that recording, you know, and it's probably from that encounter where they got to meet each other, because that might have been the first time he ever met him in person. You know, my buddy Mike would know for sure, but yeah, that's incredible, man. It still blows me away 40 years later, and I think it's become more relevant, especially after they tried to copycat it in the.
Talk about that a little. That's you
Oh
know a lot more
Lord.
about this than I do. I just discovered this past week that there was a We Are the World 2.
Oh man, hold up. Let me just show this horrible. You know, and I hate to say it's horrible. I mean, there's things about it that, you know, it has a couple moments that are, gosh, that's a horrible picture. Let me find a high res picture that so we can show everybody. Is that Diddy right there in the front of it? Wouldn't that be apropos to have Diddy like right in the front of? Oh Lord, I don't know if the algorithm is favoring or non-favoring that Joker's name.
I think Justin Bieber was in it. 50 Cent.
Oh look, yeah. Well, hey, they had Tony Bennett. That's cool. Hold up. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. So here we go. So yeah, I think it's Jamie Foxx directing. maybe not. It looks like him, but I know Quincy Jones was involved. You see Tony Bennett right there. You see that's Verdine White, the bass player from Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Can you zoom in on that image?
Nah, when you zoom in, it just zooms in all of Google. It doesn't zoom in like this picture, but well, I'll click on it and see if hopefully it doesn't take us to a video. There we go.
Better. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's Jeff Bridges. That's Vince Vaughn. I'm pretty sure that's Kanye. Not sure who that is. I know Mary Mary were in it.
This is what about?
I think this is one of Michael Jackson's nephews. I think this is one of his nephews from 3T. This is Tito's kids. They had a trio. And
this is about 10 years ago.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's some of the famous names: Jamie Foxx, Justin Bieber. Oh yeah, because this is after Ray Charles had passed. So Jamie Foxx redid like some of Ray's parts, some of his ad libs and stuff as him because he had just done Ray. Yeah, Miley Cyrus, Tony Braxton. Yeah, Lil Wayne, Akon, and T-Pain made auto-tune appearances. The one thing that I did appreciate, even though I'm not a huge hip-hop rap fan, was Snoop Dogg, Eminem, like a couple of like the hip-hop like mega guys participated. And that is a truly unique American music, form of music. Golly, I'm gonna have to pull something else up to see like when this song came out. But yeah, so basically you had the earthquake in Haiti, devastating earthquake, and I want to say it was like Wyclef Jean's idea to redo We Are to do another version for that, and then he and the Clintons basically stole all the money.
Well, the earthquake in Haiti was 2000. That was 2009. So it's been since 2009.
Let's see. It was 2010.
Yeah.
Yep. February 2010. When was Big Haiti?
So that was like the 25th anniversary of.
It was the same. It was a month later.
Okay.
So that happened on January 12th. The earthquake was January 12th, and they released the song a month later. So they basically, the thing was, it was already, they had to do a lot less work. They added a guitar solo with Carlos Santana, which I'm pretty sure Prince was still alive. So that was the year after Michael Jackson died. So they could have actually, because Prince wanted to come in and play guitar solo, but they didn't have room for guitar solo. They wanted him to come sing, and he wanted to come and record by himself. And they're like, no, it's everybody in the room together, man. It's a family affair. Flame said, why am I expecting to see Kenneth Copeland in this picture? That's funny. Woo! That's good. But yeah, it's got its moments. We'll just kind of we'll let it play in the background, but silently, because I ain't trying to give them. I don't want them getting any more money for their to not go to the people that actually need it in Haiti. I think one of my the only thing I can really remember from this is Celine Dion. That's really all I can remember.
Yeah.
Of that performance was her, but she's amazing. She's flawless. She kills it. So yeah. Prince passed in 2016. So yeah, there was no reason that they couldn't have had him and Santana doing guitar solos. But then you start doing that, and it's like, well, hey man, you should have Kenny G in here because he's one of the most famous American musicians. Some would argue he's more well known than Santana. So, right? As far as world recognition.
Yeah, Kenny G, especially back then, he was pretty big. He's not so big anymore. But then neither is Carlos Santana.
Yeah, I mean,
Summer savings are
oh
here
my gosh. Why do you guys put this
at
stuff up and
Going.
then hold up? Let me just pull it up on YouTube. And I would like actually to talk a little bit about the music theory of it. You know how to play it on guitar?
We Are the World?
Yeah.
No. I could try to wing it. What key was it in?
You know what? It says it starts in E minor, but oh, your guitar's out of
No, how do you know your keyboard's not out of tune?
well, you know what? Actually, if it's out of tune, it would be 4 cents sharp, which isn't too
joking.
far.
The keyboard is digital.
No, but it's still like I still
tune.
miss my tuning. So, yeah. So they got, here they are talking about the thing. So, yeah, starts. Yeah. So Bieber starts it. Then there's Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls. Then you got Jennifer Hudson. Then Josh Groban. Yeah, I forgot about that. Tony Bennett. Faith Evans. And of course they play Michael back. And that was cool. So they have Michael do his original parts singing the chorus, and then they bring in Janet to sing along with him instead of Diana Ross. Then Bette Midler. No, not Bette Midler. Then what's this lady's face? She's the other famous what's her name again?
Barbra Streisand?
That's it, Barbra Streisand. Bob. So, is what's his face? The Enrique Iglesias, Julio Iglesias' son. I don't even know who that is. Oh, that's Miley Cyrus. Yeah, Usher was in there. There's Jamie. And this is the part and they even, here's the sad thing. You know how like sad, like how everybody knew that this was like a flop when SNL came out and made fun of it.
Right. That's how I discovered it. I didn't know what SNL was talking about. And then I went and saw the real video.
And they took this little clip I'm going to play. They took this little clip and put it in their version because it was so ridiculous. Oh, hold up. It's later. That's him singing it in Haitian. But it's later in the song. There's Pink after that. Yeah, and Pink nails it. And there's Celine with Lionel Richie. I mean, she's just incredible. Where's that stupid part with Wanye or with what's his face? Usamanya! I mean, it's so obnoxious. They should have buried it in the mix. Instead, they like featured it. You know, as far as the arrangement goes, they did some cool things because obviously they had more time, better technology. They didn't have to wait 5 minutes for tape to rewind. It's digital. But yeah, I'm not even going to play that thing. So disaster. Yeah, it was. Well, you're not going to recapture. They were trying to capture that. What is it? Capture something in the bottle. What is it? Capture lightning. Magic in a bottle, or is that it?
Yeah,
lightning. Yeah, they were trying to capture lightning in a bottle. It's like, dude, you're not going to recreate that because you have celebrities. You don't have. I mean, even Cyndi Lauper, who was a newer artist, was still, she's a better singer than what? Probably 70 to 80%. No, I'm going to say 85% of the singers in that new version.
She can really sing. A lot of people don't realize.
She is a tremendous vocalist. She's a trained vocalist, and everybody gives Huey Lewis, crap. And I used to, tease that part, but when I got the documentary, I'm like, well, hold up. He's singing that like 5 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then I find out from, the Greatest Night in Pop that he found out like that because Prince wasn't going to be there, like, hey dude, guess what? You got to step up. We're going to give you this line because who was it? I think it was Diana Ross. Diana Ross went up to him and was like, you're my favorite singer. I'm such a fan. And he was like, can you imagine Diana Ross walking up to you and saying, I'm your biggest fan. Diana
Yeah.
Ross from the Supremes. You know, I mean, and that's kind of the thing that they should have just written a different song. Just write a new song, bring all those stars together.
Right.
You know, do something different. Because you're trying to take a classic car and pull it apart and put it together with new parts, and it doesn't look the same, doesn't
Like
feel the
when
same, doesn't look right.
Madonna did the remake of American Pie. It's like, just shut
Ugh.
up. It was such a great song, such a classic. I mean, there are people who liked it. Don McLean said he liked it, but
Well, you know what he liked? He liked
I
that
guess
paycheck.
so. He did get a piece of the action.
I would not put it past this modern music industry to say, hey, we're going to pay you this much and we'll pay you this much extra if you never say anything bad about this. And we'll pay you this much if you say good things about it. If you say tell people you like it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just there was no recapturing that magic. And the best they got was nostalgia, you know? Like even the moments of throwing, and they had tremendous vocalists. I mean, just write something
Pink
else.
can sing. Celine Dion, great singer.
They had Anthony Hamilton there. They had Mary Mary. You know, I mean, Nicole Scherzinger is a great vocalist. I'm trying to think. They were a little light. You know, Josh Groban, while not a pop singer, is a world-class singer. You know, I mean, they should have called, like Michael Bublé. You know, of course, like he's Canadian, but then again, so is Celine Dion. But there's, and what's his face? Jamie Foxx is a tremendous singer. The funny thing is, T-Pain, though he does that auto-tune stuff, he actually has a great voice. He has a really good voice.
Yeah, I don't.
Yes, you're right, Flame. We could have been the world. We could have been the children. But instead we got someone.
You know what that reminded me of?
What'd you remind you of?
Ono.
Yes. That's 100%. That was 100%. And here's what's adds the insult to injury was the fact that he stole all the money from his own people. You know?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was a whole scandal that they didn't really talk about, much online. That's and that's really simple. But when they took it to he's tuning. You want to mute while you're tuning? That's all right. I'm over here playing. You're playing add a tune E on top of my in tune E. My favorite, when it hits that bridge, with that flat 7. Yes, T-Pain is a much better singer, you would think. You're absolutely right. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Well, let us realize that a change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world. Gosh, I'm telling you, man, that's just what a song. What a song. And the only thing, like the only flying the ice cream for me is God has shown us why turning stones to bread. And it's like, did anybody check the scriptures? that's total. That's when you get, man. I tell you what, they didn't know that they were lighting conspiracy theories for the next 40 years of like, they're all Satanists because they're calling God, they're saying God was the one that changed the stones to bread and it was Satan. And it's like, no, man, they just don't read the Bible. Come on, man. I mean,
come on, man. No, that was the
oh, yeah, hold on. I got you here. Here it is.
And Corn Pop was a bad
No,
dude.
that ain't it.
And he ran a bunch of bad.
Here it is.
Come on, man.
There it is.
The first time I ever heard that song, that line just floored me. I thought, how in the world could they put that line in the song? As God has shown us by turning stones to bread. No, he refused. Jesus refused to turn the stones into bread because he said, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And they took that and twisted it. And Jesus did turn one boy's lunch into a feast for the whole multitude. He did that, but there was no stones involved.
No rocks, only breads and fish.
Right.
But I like what Marcus just said. Our brother Marcus Curtis. We can do a Christian version of a song to provide aid for missionaries around the world. I think Rod weren't we talking about or doing one for the martyrs?
Yeah.
That's
a charity that Marcus supports. They're right here in Oklahoma, Voice of the Martyrs.
Yes, Voice of the Martyrs. Yeah, Marcus, tell me if you're down with that. Like, I like that idea even better than I think. Well, shoot, just split the money down the middle and send half of it to the missionaries and send half of it to dude, imagine if I was able to get, say, C.C. Winans, Fred Hammond, and Michael W. Smith. If I could get those three, music people together and say even an Israel Houghton and like Elevation Worship, hey guys, let's get together and do a song for global missions and Voice of the Martyrs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do our own We Are the World.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Of course, it has to be a great song.
That's the thing and that's the thing. Like they had two guys writing it, one guy producing it, and then one other guy that did the vocal arranging said, who's going to sing what? That was it. It wasn't 16 cooks in the kitchen. Cause when you get that, that many cooks in the kitchen, and people, they have to understand that the more people you have, the more hands you have, and even the great bands, if you go and listen to them, like who wrote, the Queen's hits? Freddie. Mm-hmm. And the guys contributed with their parts, but it wasn't, they're all having a hand in the songwriting. Look at Journey. It's Steve Perry and what's his face, the keyboardist. They were writing the majority of the hits. Why can't I remember
White's the keyboardist? Husband, Jonathan Cain. That's true.
It's true. No, but the way I totally had a J. Jonas Jameson moment of just air, because I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Never in this guy's life did he think I'm going to be known as this lady's husband. Mm-hmm. He's the keyboardist and writer of like Don't Stop Believing. It should be like, this is Jonathan Cain's, like, this is, wife. Nope. You're Paula White's husband, son. You've been taken down a notch.
Yeah. Well, how many rock musicians are married to an advisor to the president?
Good point.
Yeah. And besides, she's now, he was then. His career is pretty much behind him. I'm sure he's still active, but.
Well, they're still touring, but they're not putting out new music. Yeah. They're not in their heyday, that's for sure.
I said one time that because that's her third husband, and I said,
"You serious? I thought he was the second."
She was married before she married Randy. She was married. I think she got it annulled, like when she was 19, 20 years old. She got married, and then it was annulled, and then she remarried Randy, and they built the church in Tampa, and then they got divorced, and the church went, into disrepair. Yeah, and then she became a televangelist, and then married. I used to joke that she married Slash. she married some rock guy. I think she married Slash. That wouldn't that be something?
Isn't that something?
Paula White married a Slash.
And the famous Robert Tilton line, isn't that something?
Yeah. Let's not go down that road. The Robert Tilton video.
No,
But I do want to talk about the cause, and because a lot of Christians, like I said, don't remember that there was a Christian version of "We Are the World." It was a song called "Do Something Now," and they had 90 Christian artists involved in that. And I mean, if you watch the video on that, it's like, wow. You had Sandy Patty, Evie Turnquist.
Yeah, and they also don't have a great picture. I mean, goodness gracious, if this picture was any smaller. Here, I'll keep going.
Kathy Tricoli, Michelle Pilar, Phil Kagi, Steve Camp, Milo Lefebvre, Jesse Dixon.
It's hard to even see who any of these people are in this picture. It's so grainy.
Yeah. But if you guys haven't seen it, you can Google it or you can watch it on YouTube. It's called "Do Something Now" by a group called The Cause. And the video quality is poor compared to "We Are the World," but I guess it was the best that Christian. Oh yeah, Amy Grant, of course.
It's the best they could afford.
Yeah. I think somebody was shooting it on a camcorder or something.
Well, that's
Larry Norman.
Is that what's his face from Petra?
No, that was Larry Norman.
Oh yeah, that's
Michelle
right.
Pilar. Don't know who that guy is.
This is Myron,
no,
right?
That's Russ Taff.
Russ Taff. That's why I always get them confused.
That's Evie. Evie Turnquist.
That's
Phil Kagi back before his hair all turned gray and turned loose. That's Scott Wesley Brown. He was big back then, but most people don't remember him. Michelle Pilar. The second chapter of Acts was in it too, but they're not in the video.
Yeah.
Jesse Dixon. Don't know who that guy is. Steve Camp.
Here's Sandy.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, hold up. We're gonna turn some sound on for Saturday. We're gonna.
In Utopia, there's just another item in the news tonight.
Wake up, America.
Yeah, but see, once again, like this takes it to the thing of what Lionel was talking about. Is it an anthem? Is it a what is the song? And when they landed on that tempo, that was, as a songwriter and a producer, I'm like, man, that's
the chorus would "Do Something Now."
Well, yeah, like the tempo just doesn't feel. Let me go to the chorus. You have to tell me what this chorus is, because I don't even remember how this song goes. I've only heard it like once or twice. I listened to it for like maybe the second time in my life the other day when you reminded me about it.
Yeah, DeGarmo from DeGarmo and Key. That was a big group back then.
Let's go to like the last chorus. Here we go. Let's go to the last chorus. Yeah, it just doesn't hit you, man. It to me, it almost kind of, and I hate to, and I love old school. You ain't gonna find many people that love old school Christian music more than me. It just sounds corny. It ain't got it.
Yeah, it's not on the caliber of "Feed the World" and "We Are the World."
Well, you got Quincy. I mean, like, it's hard to top Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, and Quincy Jones. You know
what I couldn't believe is that when you read the credits, they show you who the guitar player was, and it's some guy I never heard of. And I thought, you got Phil Kagi right there in the choir.
On this song?
Yes. Yes, the guitar. There's a credit for the guy who played guitar on "Do Something Now," and you got Phil Keaggy in the choir, and he's just singing. Why didn't you let Phil Keaggy you cut loose on his guitar? Or why not bring Phil Driscoll in to play the trumpet? He was around back then.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the thing, man. There's just, the Winans were a thing. I think it would have been much better if they would have brought in some of the black gospel folk. But it was just a very CCM thing, and they sprinkled in a couple tokens in there.
Yeah.
So
It was primarily white, where "We Are the World" was primarily black.
no, that was maybe 60-40.
Well,
They did
as far as the
good.
people who put it together. Okay, we'll put it that way.
Well, the people that put it together, yeah, I mean,
because "Do Something Now" was Steve Camp and somebody else. It was a very white song.
You gotta have the people with the melanin, man. We add flavor. We're gonna add the flavor to the music.
But it reminds me
exactly Andre Crouch, exactly, Kimball.
Yeah,
1000%. And Rod and I actually said his name when we were talking about this on the phone, talking about this podcast. We said, why in the world did they not call Andre Crouch? Unless they said, hey, Andre, we just want you to come and bring your choir, but we're not going to let you arrange or produce or be a part of the creative part. And he probably said, no, I think I'm going to go over here and take my choir to sing on this Michael Jackson album, because his choir was on like 3 Michael Jackson albums, 3 different Michael Jackson albums. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a film music producer. And this is why I love my friend Rick Ballantyne, that he actually knew the song. He knew the song. But the biggest song that they're known for is the Free Willy song. Oh my gosh. What was the Free Willy song? That's so funny that I forgot what it was. Will You Be There? That's right. Hold me like the river Jordan. So like that's, carry me like the river faithful. Not that whole choir in there. That's the Andre Crouch choir, man. That's his choir. And on that same album, they did a song called Keeping the Faith. I have wanted to do that song in church since I heard that song in 92 or 93 when the album came out. A friend of mine had it on cassette, and I literally wore out the second side of that tape. I wore it out in one night. I kept on rewinding it.
Might be a good one for you to cover.
Oh, when this is done, I'm gonna put a group together in here, and the hard part is gonna be finding somebody to do like Michael's part to lead it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to be the hardest part. There's a couple friends. I'm probably going to have like two friends tag team. But that's kind of the thing, man. The sad thing is the church has the talent.
Yeah.
The church has the talent. They just won't put the money into stuff.
This reminds me of Christian movies. You watch a Tom Cruise
in the past, they're getting better. They're getting better.
A Christian movie, and the Christian movie doesn't seem to have any pace. It doesn't have any energy. The audio is not the same, and it's kind of the same thing here. This pales in comparison to "We Are the World" in the same way. It just doesn't look like it had the production, it had the creativity. It just.
And here's the beautiful thing. And here's the beautiful thing. Nobody that was a part of that thing got paid. Nobody. They all donated. They all served. And, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. We were talking about the church and, with the Do Something Now. I get it. What would happen if the church, sold all their property and gave all their money from tithes to the poor? Could we make a dent, or would we completely, not even need welfare anymore? I don't know. But I think there's a happier middle ground than where we are right now. Do we need another $20 million facility when there's people in our nation that are suffering?
Mm-hmm.
Really suffering. You got people that are in congregations that can't afford to put their family members in the hospital or in hospice or some stuff like that. And the church is trying to figure out how to, spend millions of dollars on Lord knows what. So I don't know, man. I'd love to see. I'd love to. And I prayed a selfish prayer. It was very much had another Salieri moment last night watching that documentary. I was like, Lord, let me have a song like that. And I don't care about singing. I'll be Quincy. I'll just be the guy directing. I'll be the. I mean, that's what I'm praying to be here in this place, is to help launch other people and put other people out there, but mentor them and keep them from making the mistakes that I did, and to know that, hey, look, man, you can go out here and even make music in the music industry and do it for the Lord and do it for the kingdom. But this is how you keep your integrity. And these are the things you have to watch out for. Mm-hmm. And these are the things that are going to come at you. These are the things that are going to come your way. But I think the church could do something that smokes we on the world musically. We have the legends, the name recognition, the faces? No, we'll never have that. But we don't need that. We have the anointing. We have the Holy Spirit. World ain't got that. Mm-hmm. World ain't got that. Those artists had a lot of talent. Well, we have talent in spades.
Yeah,
we have talent in spades. Look, half the people in that video came out the church. What I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean, Quincy even talked about that. The guy that he brought in to do the vocal arranging, I can't remember his name, but he was like the only white guy at an all black church. And he had been doing, like vocal arranging for forever. And Quincy was like, remembers the first time he met him, he's like, you're not white. But all these guys, Stevie came out of the black church. a lot of them did.
Whitney Houston, Cicely Tyson.
Exactly.
Yeah, Aretha Franklin's dad was a minister, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, Aretha did gospel records. Mahalia Jackson was her idol.
Yeah.
So, we can get John Mark and Jeff to sell Girl Scout cookies to raise the funds. Easy money. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Sounds of Blackness was awesome, Kimball. I missed that. I saw it, but I was on a tirade. Yes, Mark. Everything is better when you bring the brothers and the sisters into it.
If anybody should be known for charity work, it should be the church.
Yes.
It shouldn't be secular artists.
Well, the other side of that is when the church does it, they do it quietly. So they don't do it to and the ones that do it for parades, they get blasted as they should. The Catholic Church have been doing tremendous. They do more than anybody.
Oh yeah,
but they don't talk about it.
I've played at Catholic charity events. They call them. They want you to donate socks, underwear, and blankets. Bus. That's what they call it. Bus. Blankets, underwear, and socks. Because that's what poor people need. A lot of people want to give them clothes.
Yeah.
And the clothes are hand-me-downs, they're torn and they're dirty and everything. They say, no, just buy new underwear, socks, and blankets. Something that's clean, that's new. That's what they need. So a Catholic friend of mine used to invite me to play at his church for their charity events. And I did several of them. And that's when I discovered how much charity work Catholics do.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, why don't Protestants do charity events like this?
Well, and the Protestants have, the Methodists and Presbyterians have built hospitals. And I don't know how much they, look out for people and help those that don't have. I would presume and hope that they do much. But, I give them some benefit of the doubt, because the church, when it's doing it right, nobody knows. Nobody knows. The needs are just met. They're not having parades, and they're not having, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, because the beautiful thing was with We Are the World was, hey man, it's like we're lending our celebrity and our talent, and we're going to promote this so it makes money, but we're not getting a dime for it. So they don't know how much it was going to help. They just did everything that they could to help, and kind of like a benefit concert, The sad thing is with most benefit concerts, so the bands still get paid because because people don't understand. Like, hey, look, man, That's a lot of work. Putting on, like a big old concert, like the world citizen thing, or people citizen thing that they put on like every year now in the big park in New York. Global citizen, I think, is what it is. It sounds like end time, one world government type stuff, but I mean, to put like just the production of those types of things, you're talking, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So, and you got
what's
to show.
interesting?
Go ahead.
Farm Aid started the same year in 1985, but Farm Aid has continued to do charity events all these years. Because you need a lot more money to bail people out on the farms. It takes a lot more to bail out a farmer than to feed hungry people. Anyway, so they've continued to do these Farm Aid events for 40 years. And around the country, different events. That's the same organization. I think that's pretty cool that they've been able to sustain this, because you don't still see USA for Africa events.
No. Well, I mean, were they ever going to do anything to top We Are the World?
Did you watch Live Aid?
Oh,
that's right. You were 5 years old. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was amazing. This is where Freddie Mercury really became huge.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was golly. That was almost as epic a moment in music history as We Are the World.
Yeah.
And he did it all and Queen did it all by themselves.
They had 2 concerts the same day, one in the UK and one in New York. And Phil Collins performed in the UK. I think it was the UK. It was in Europe. And then he hopped on a Concorde and flew across the ocean. And then he did the concert in New York the same day. Pretty cool. Yeah, Phil Collins performed in 2 continents on the same day.
Wow.
Because that was before they discontinued the Concords. But I watched that, and Madonna was terrible. Madonna is no good live. She can't sing. She's
another one of them people that has ghost people singing, because she's not. Yeah. She became a decent singer. It's something you have to give that woman. That woman works.
When she
that
did
woman
the movie,
ain't afraid of work.
When she did the movie for Evita.
Yeah, that was kind of the peak of her vocal ability. But like, if you listen to, I think the best song she's ever recorded is produced by Babyface on LaFace Records. I've Always Been in Love with You. I've always been in love with always with you. They wrote that song perfectly for her voice. She performs it so well, and there's no hiding it. But that was like 10 years after, like in the 80s when she started out. It was all image. It was all pizzazz and marketing.
She actually started off as a dancer, and she wasn't even a good dancer.
Nope, she just wanted to be famous.
Right. What she's good at is marketing. That's that.
Well, and she works.
Yeah, she hustles. She does. But I watched Live Aid, and I was amazed at how bad a lot of those artists were live. But the one that stood out in my mind was Eric Clapton. That guy.
He's a real musician.
Yes. That guy killed it. Freddie Mercury, Phil Collins, and Eric Clapton. They were the stars, and so many of them you just like. What the thing was not well produced. The sound work wasn't really good, but still, you can have the best sound man in the world and still not sound good if the artist can't hit the notes.
And you can be a mediocre sound man and have an amazing band, and you still sound like a genius. Like you're gonna have to really. I mean, you're going to have to really screw the pooch to make Queen sound bad. I mean, it's drums, bass, and guitar. And if Freddie sits down at the piano, then it's 4 instruments and 1 guy singing. I mean, you got 5 submixes right there, man. You just put them all on the DCAs, put them all on the submixes. You got 5 faders you got to move around. Because once the drums are mixed and everything else is mixed, you got 5 things you got to move up and down. That's it. That's it. So... which is probably why they sounded so good coming through the broadcast. Not a whole lot there to muck up, and their
Mhm.
sound was
Now that I think about it, probably the one in the UK was okay because Freddie sounded great, Eric Clapton sounded great, Phil Collins sounded great, but most of what I watched was the
America.
Americans, and they were the ones that sounded really bad. So
They should have got the folks from the other world, man. They should have got Tina Turner and Lionel and Michael, and I mean, golly, you could have taken anybody. I mean, good. I mean, just go down the list. Let's go down from the list of performing. Lionel, Stevie, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, Tina Turner, Billy Joel. That's verse 1. Any one of those would, and they can all sing live. They can actually do what they do, especially Tina Turner. Well, shoot, I can't even say that. I can't say especially Tina Turner, especially Lionel, especially Stevie Wonder, especially Billy Joel. I mean, these are people that can rock, put on a show, really sing, and except for Tina, they all play instruments.
But she can dance. She can dance though.
Oh, she can dance. You ain't lying, son.
Well, she could. I don't know if she was still dancing like that in '85. But
yeah.
I grew up
even
watching.
as an old woman. When she was 70, she was still doing that Proud Mary thing, dude. She had her legs insured for $2 million.
You got to understand, I grew up watching Ike and Tina Turner and Rolling on a River, and boy, they were smoking hot. That band was
burning some calories.
Yeah, she and her two fellow dancers. So they were in their 20s back then in the 60s. And then she had a great comeback with What's Love Got to Do with It.
That album that she won an award, the American Music Award that night, the same night that they recorded the We Are the World. I mean, dude, what's love got to do with it? Here's the funny thing. The chorus is actually my least favorite part of that song. The verses and the pre-chorus, the intro verses and pre-chorus, I'm pretty sure it's in G minor.
I'm still out of tune.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's more than that. Wow, what's love got to do? Got to do. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's got a little bit of reggae to it. Yeah, the chorus ain't bad. I'm not saying the chorus is bad. I love that whole song, but those verses and pre-choruses, woo, buddy. Yeah, we don't, and this is something that what's his face with the big music channel. Golly, I think must be time for me to go to bed because I can't remember anybody's name. Rick Beato, he's been talking about that for years. Like, there's no songs because it's songwriting by committee. You got 17 people writing a song, so it sucks because there's no vision. And the thing is, they're not trying to make art; they're trying to make money.
Right?
They're trying to make money. They're trying to make fame. They're not saying anything. They are not saying anything, and the only people that are making good music are the independent artists, and nobody wants to get behind them because they don't want to sell their souls, to be famous and to get screwed because they've seen it happen to everybody else.
When I was young, there were a lot of really explorative, a lot of creative people. They would try different things. Yes. And the industry was willing to go along with it and say, well, let's see if we can do something different. And a good example of that was Steely Dan.
Oh, my gosh.
Steely Dan was fusing rock and jazz back when rock musicians didn't do jazz. They didn't understand jazz. And these guys did. And they had hit songs. Like Met was Peg.
Yeah. I seen your picture. Yeah, man. I mean, we'll come back to
Peg.
yeah, that's just such that is such good music. They're Two Against Nature DVD. Woo!
Yeah. Sorry, you
Masterclass.
younger people who don't remember, but this was the music that we were exposed to back then. People were exploring, especially in the Christian market. People were exploring a lot because there wasn't a lot of money in the Christian music business back in the 70s.
Well, it was for the Lord.
Right.
It was for the Lord, and they wanted to be creative. That was the whole point.
Yeah, and then Word Records started buying everything up, and it just became a business in the 80s.
That's Ron Canoli told me that in my interview with him. The recording industry has become a distraction for the Christian, for the worship leader, for the Christian creator. It really has. And I think that's kind of, I would pray that, you know, a Christian musician, or even a musician, somebody that really wants to create art, something beautiful, should go back and look at We Are the World and say, why did they do this? How did they do this? Where was the motivation for money? The motivation was to help people. And because the motivation was not on themselves, they made something that 40 years later we're still talking about. It's still relevant today. It's still relevant today from a production standpoint, what they were able to accomplish in a single night, what they were able to accomplish from a songwriting aspect, from a producing, you know, like the arranging, composition. I mean, I know Quincy would have loved to have like a month, you know, to fully orchestrate and put some more stuff around that thing. But man, like that's why they had like, I was looking like Michael Martin, who actually played on I think the Asia Steely Dan record. He's a big Christian guy.
Yeah,
big Christian. He played Clavier on We Are the World. I didn't know that till last night when I watched that documentary. I'm like Greg Fillinganes. Yep, I knew it. I'm like Larry Johnson. I'm like Michael Martian played on this song. I was like, there, Clavier. There he is. So they had like 6 synth keyboard guys, because if you listen to the intro, that's all I think what Quincy was thinking he would have had an orchestra do if he had time. So he just had to have guys do it with synthesizers. So
did you ever meet Quincy Jones?
No.
Or Stevie
I have
Wonder?
two friends. Two of my friends have met Quincy. It's funny. I'm actually going to perform a Stevie show next week in New Jersey. So if anybody's in New Jersey, I'll be I'll put the show. I got to put the show on my website. But I actually was going to have one of Stevie Wonder's vocalists play guitar on that show, and he wasn't able to do it, but he was excited to do it, because when he's with Stevie, he's singing. He doesn't get to play guitar, so he was really excited about getting to play guitar. Now I've got several of my friends. I've talked to one of Stevie's handlers, like one of his best friends, who like one of the guys you see him like walk him out on stage. He's watched me perform and listened to me perform, thinks I'm great. Like he's like, and apparently he's told Stevie about me, and Stevie's like, okay, yeah, good stuff. So didn't get like the, like we didn't get like we were looking for like a brand, we wanted to get like a seal of approval, but I'm happy with good stuff. Yeah, I'll take it, because those guys could say, yeah, you suck. Don't quit singing my stuff. Lay off my music before you get a cease and desist, because Prince did that a lot. He did not like people. He didn't like people covering his music at all.
Yeah, apparently Coolio didn't either. You know that story with Coolio?
Well, that's the funny thing. That's not Coolio's song to begin with. That's Stevie Wonder's song. That's Pastime Paradise. So, Joker, you had to get Stevie Wonder's permission anyway. And when they asked permission to do that, they had to ask Stevie anyway. And Stevie don't care if you cover his song. He don't.
Mm.
He's just cool. He's like, hey, just pay the royalty and see if you can do.
Well, I
something
think
cool with it.
I think the problem was that he was kind of doing a different song from Stevie Wonder without mocking Stevie Wonder's song.
Yeah,
But Weird Al was kind of mocking Coolio's
Yeah.
song.
Well,
The
it was
Amish
good.
Paradise. And he said, that ain't cool, man.
He got over it. He got over it because that cover is actually one of shoot, I can't say it's one of his greatest. That's what we need. We need Weird Al Yankovic to come out with a "We Are the World" parody. He would call it "We Eat the World." We ate the world. We ate the because half of his covers are about half his spoofs are about eating.
Food and television. Those are recurring themes.
Apparently, Brother Maynard was bought a steak from James Brown. That's cool. Was it a sirloin or did he get you like a porterhouse? So I can't tell if he's being serious. He's always jokey in the comments. So, it's like, are you being serious? He says, yeah, it felt all kinds of good. Feels so good. So good. I got you. So I can't ever tell. That's the problem, man. You're like the boy who cried wolf. And when everything you say is a joke, nobody takes you seriously, man. Can't ever tell. We can't see your expression. All we got is your words.
I feel good.
Give me that steak. Medium well. Nah. Medium rare. Kind of bloody. Hit in the middle. Hit me. Eat a steak. Mashed potatoes. Bag it. Lots of butter. And a cream. Feel good. I'm gonna hurt myself doing that.
Yeah, you better save your voice.
Yeah, I gotta sing next weekend. Well, I think that covered about most of the bases. I'm looking at our description of the video. I'm like, yeah, okay, yep. Yeah, I think we covered it. I think we covered most of it. I just want to go back through and almost play it now, man. It's just, but I don't know where that money's going, so I wouldn't want to play it. But man, those ad libs at the end with Stevie and Ray.
James Ingram also, and Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen was also part of the jam at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a classic, and I would love to see Christian artists put something together that could compare with what secular artists have done. And it's not, like you said, it's not due to lack of talent. It's just that the industry just doesn't think that way. The Christian music industry needs to be reformed.
We're islands into ourselves. We need more unity. That's something I've been really praying about. And tomorrow, guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow night. Rod and I are going to be doing another live stream. I'm going to have the thumbnail up and the stream up in just a little bit. I'm working on the thumbnail. I started working on the thumbnail right before the stream tonight. We're going to be talking about a video from West Huff talking about healing. And I'm probably going to talk a little bit tomorrow about this whole kind of, it's not an explosion, but it's a building or a resurgence of orthodoxy and people kind of abandoning Protestantism for the classical tribes of the faith, Catholicism and orthodoxy. Mm-hmm. And I just want, man, I just want to see unity. I tell you what, I like some of the guys that are at the forefront of, the Catholic movement and the Orthodox movement. They have good arguments. They're edifying. I feel they're edifying the body, but some of these jokers are just like basically saying, yeah, you're going to hell if you're not a part of the church. And it's like, well, God could do a special miracle and save you outside of yourself. I'm like, man, you sound no different than the fundamental Baptist, no different than the fundamental Pentecostal that says, if you don't believe our way and you're not a part of our church, you're not saved. And I reject that wholeheartedly. I reject it because salvation is not of the church. If you're going to go scriptural, I'd say the Lord says salvation is of the Jews. So, if you're going to make an argument for anything, I'm like, well, I think we all ought to be messianic because we've completely abandoned the foundations of our faith and the Hebraic roots of our faith. Mm-hmm. So, but man, to me, if you ain't got Jesus, you ain't got nothing. If you got Jesus, you got everything. And then let's add on top of that. But you're right, Rod. This lack of unity is why we don't have anything like that. We have so many ego. We have so much fear of somebody's going to take my piece of the pie. And it's not even our pie to begin with. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And these talents and gifts that we have, we are to manage them. They're not ours. We gave ourselves to him. We are his. And this competitiveness in the body of Christ is shameful. You got 50 of the biggest celebrities that could get in the room, and there's that quote that Quincy put on the door. I'm going to put on one of the doors here in the studio. I'm probably going to put it at the entrance, because the cool thing is I have two doors when you walk into the studio. There's an outer door and an inner door, so I have an outer and an inner court, and I'm thinking about putting it on the inside of the first door, so when you open the second door, check your ego, because I need to see that. And there was a quote that Quincy said about music being a spiritual language. It was as profound as the poem that Gene Wilder quotes a portion of. We are the music makers, we are the dreamers of the dreams. That whole poem is profound. But Quincy said something almost as profound in that documentary. I'm going to have somebody like write in beautiful stencil, like handwriting, and I'm going to put it somewhere in here that I can look at it, because he says, you can't taste music, you can't smell music. It puts into words, it takes what we cannot put into words and translates it. That's this, but that's because music is from heaven. I think that's the only thing he didn't really put in that quote is, yeah, it's spiritual, but if there's a spirit, where did the spirit come from? The spirit didn't come from no Big Bang. This is a powerful thing. That's why that song is still touching people 40 years after the fact, because God gave all those musicians incredible gifts without remittance, and they decided to make something beautiful, whatever is good, whatever is pure.
You remember that song, John Will Be There? John will be there.
Oh, Yamo be there. Yamo be there. Not Jamo be there. Yamo be there.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Mo be there. Yeah, Michael McDonald.
Yeah, it's Michael McDonald and James Ingram, actually.
James Ingram, and I think Quincy Jones was involved in that too.
Yamo be there. Yamo be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what that song was about, and when I was researching "We Are the World" and James Ingram, I looked that up, and I saw that it's Yah is just a reference to Jehovah.
No kidding.
And they're just encouraging people to believe in God and trust in God to be with you, and nothing heretical or anti-Bible, anti-Christian about it. I thought, I get real suspicious when I hear people refer to God as Yah, because I think, well, where are they coming from? The
Rastafarian.
Yeah. But there was none of that. It was just, these guys have Christian roots. I think Quincy Jones grew up in church too, if I'm not mistaken.
And Michael McDonald, I think he's a very, I live out my Christianity. I'm not going to go over here and, pound, I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Christian. Let me have my, speaking Christianese, hey, go be a light, man.
There was a whole Christian scene there in LA with Michael Omartian and Larry Carlton.
Yes.
And
the Jesus movement, man.
Right.
A
lot of great musicians came out of that.
Tremendous. Jesus is still all right with me.
Yeah, Jesus is just my favorite band, the Doobie Brothers.
Doobies. Michael McDonald. Yeah. I mean, that was before he joined the group, but still, that's,
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed this. Appreciate all of you people joining us. Like you said, tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a completely different topic on my channel. But I've been a musician since I was 8 years old. And I don't talk about music a whole lot, but I always love to get together with Gabriel and talk about stuff like this. In this case, he knew a lot more about Quincy Jones and the
It's just
guys
because my
behind the
keyboard was
scenes.
in tune.
Right. But I actually remember when this stuff was happening, unlike Gabriel. So
Yeah,
the
he
two of
wasn't a
us were,
baby.
the two of us were able to complement each other as far as, our knowledge of the 84, 85 charity music era. It's just a phenomenal time, and it's something I think that we should see more of this happening in the
Amen.
future.
Hey, I tell you, if people can raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for people that are about to go on trial for for committing crimes or calling people racial epithets, then the church should be able to raise the church should be able to raise millions of dollars for martyrs and for missionaries online. I think that should be our challenge to ourselves, that the Lord would use us to get out of our own way and use these gifts. I mean, he said your gifts will make room for you. And I'd like to see us come together and do these kinds of things and be able to, hey, go to the Voice of the Martyrs and, what do you guys need? Man, we could use $500,000 this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's write a song and raise it. And we raise it, like Carmen did. Carmen broke GoFundMe's records when he was healed of cancer, went into remission. And he said, if the Lord gives me more time, I'll do another record and another tour. And he broke their records with how fast he raised. It was over 100. It was like, I think his goal was $100,000. He ended up raising like 200,000 in a day. Like he broke his 100, like he met his goal in a day and ended up doubling it. And that to me was the Lord saying, I saw when you did that stadium and you didn't charge anybody and you went, in the red because you didn't have the money. I was with you. One of the guys that played drums with him was at a ministry with me, and he said to me, he's like, he lost his tail on so many of those things. And most people would have quit. Most people, the first time they lost money, they'd have been like, well, all right, guys, we're packing it in. I can't pay you. He didn't do it. He kept on going. Right, wrong, or indifferent, he might have been doing it for the wrong reasons, but I tell you what, I was one of those that got blessed. I was incredibly blessed by his ministry, and I've always I want to be that different. I want to be that guy that's not trying to copycat. He was not trying to be like anybody else in Christian music, and nobody else in Christian music has followed in those footsteps. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to follow in his. I'm not Carmen. I'm not. I can sing better, and I can actually play musical instruments. So that kind of right there disqualifies me. I'm not as suave or as charismatic as him. He is handsome, good looking. I ain't got that, man. I ain't got the mob charm.
You got a tux?
I get me some suits. I get me some suits.
The man looked good in a tux, didn't he?
Hey, Carmen. Hey, the mobsters, they know the Italians. They know how to dress. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to put it together. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, the Teflon Don.
Yeah, but I'm like, Lord, if you'd give me, and I think he's already given me everything that I need to do that. He's just waiting on me to get up off it. So I think this is some of the stuff that's going to happen in this place, that I'll be able to bring creatives and worship leaders and worshipers and Levites together to, and we'll see that, Rod, before we leave this earth. We'll see us do greater things than these, secular artists have done.
Amen. Yeah.
By
all these
faith.
People who say greater things is not talking about miracles. Well, now here's your chance to do greater things that are not supernatural. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have, more influence than these secular artists. Let's raise more money for charity. Let's feed more hungry people. Let's house more homeless people.
And we're seeing it, like with what we're going to talk about tomorrow night with Wes Huff. How does this guy, nobody knows who this guy was. He's not rich. He's not William Lane Craig.
Mm-hmm.
He's not Frank Turek. This guy came out of nowhere, and in 6 months, he's on Joe Rogan, and now he's everywhere proclaiming the gospel. You can't buy that kind of influence. Yeah. So we're seeing this happen in theological spaces. now I'm praying that we would see it in creative spaces, and we're starting to with Angel Films, with Sound of Freedom. Like, they're making some good films. I think Mel Gibson was the one that kind of kicked it off, the resurgence, because we used to have that with like 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur and had all these great biblical films, and then it didn't happen for 50 years. And Passion of the Christ, Sound of Freedom, and now, you know, Angel Studios starting to put out some good stuff. I don't know if you watched The Chosen. I watched one episode and I was like, okay.
I've watched a few episodes. The production is good.
It's done well. It's done well. So now I'm like, okay, Lord, let's see this in the music now.
Amen.
Let's see it in the music. So we are the church. We are his children. Amen. We are his light to bring a brighter day. So let's start giving
and believing.
Amen. Amen. All right, y'all. Lord willing, we will see you tomorrow night on Rod's channel. I don't have a video thing because I had to switch off my stuff. So I'm just going to put this. Here we go. I'll put the Soul Vitamins thing up there. Well, I don't even know how in the world that stayed up there. But yeah, I'm going to throw the Soul Vitamins up. So you got anything else you want to say, Rob?
No, just see you tomorrow night.
All right. Y'all be blessed.